conversations. If you want to reach out to us, submit any news, or just watch any previous episode, visit us at www.coderconvos.com. It's your host, Kevin, and I'm with.
I'm Brian Russick, professional drummer based out of Suffolk County, Long Island, New York area. If anyone wants to book a drum lesson with me, please contact me at brianrussick.com.
Yeah, man. So today I kind of wanted to get into, because I've been seeing a lot of layoffs, and some of it is directly related to AI. Like CEOs believe that AI agents can replace the workers. Have you been seeing this?
Yeah, I think I saw a big layoff from Microsoft. Is that right?
Yeah, Microsoft and some of its subsidiaries, Bethesda, some of these
Right,
other ones.
because so they own Activision, Bethesda, maybe a couple others.
Yeah, Blizzard, and
Oh, they own
yeah, they didn't.
Blizzard. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And they've been having pretty sizable layoffs. And just like you remember when Elon Musk started the layoffs at X, like this might have a ripple effect. Other companies might follow suit and start laying people off. I think companies are really buying into the AI hype. Like we can replace programmers, replace other levels of workers with AI agents.
Yeah, I think, the case is it comes down to money, really. I think it really just comes down to money and time. So you figure, a chat bot doesn't need to take breaks. A chat bot doesn't need to go to the bathroom or go get a drink of water. That chat bot can work 24 hours a day around the clock for you. So that right there is a game changer. And then you just got to figure, okay, how are people going to use this AI bot? What can they get out of it? How much is it going to cost them? Let's say, because I think people kind of they edit these to be specific for companies. So maybe to get that specific version, you might have to pay like $5,000 or $10,000. Like, I don't really know if that's a good estimate, but I'm just throwing that out there. And then you compare that 5,000 or that $10,000 to a junior developer salary, which nowadays probably a junior is getting 75, 80K a year. So by going with that chatbot, the company is essentially saving like 70 to 80,000.
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, it seems like with the AI agents, there are cost savings, but I think ultimately the problem is going to be that somebody has to verify the output of what the AI agent is producing, and if they're letting go of seniors, eventually there's not going to be anybody to validate that the output. Like you tell us, you let's just say for paralegal, you have this AI agent and it's bringing up this research. Like, how do you know whatever it's producing is valid if it's accurate?
Right.
Somebody has to look the output over. But if you're just asking everybody and throwing everything in the hands of AI, then you're putting yourself in a dangerous position.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're going to see a lot of changes with AI just, moving forward, and especially in the short term. I think, OpenAI with their chat GPT, and Google, I think, what's it called? Gemini.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their
Yeah, I
AI
think,
is.
yeah, Google's so, all these companies, Meta, Google, OpenAI, they all have chatbots. Like OpenAI has Chat GPT. They keep coming out with more and more robust builds, models of it. Version 3, 4, 5. I'm not sure what they're up to now, but it seems to me like each update is a massive update. It's not just like a little Windows update. Oh, we optimize your RAM usage. No, it's like we made this thing think 100,000 times faster, or we made this thing able to do book reports in like 5 seconds. Who knows really what the changes are, but point being is that there's a lot of changes happening.
So I mean, like on one of the previous episodes, we spoke to different AI engineers, and essentially they're modeling the human brain. But the thing is, okay, on paper, AI doesn't need rest or it doesn't need compensation. But if it's analyzing human history, at some point, it's going to recognize that, hey, I should be getting paid for this, or maybe I don't want to be doing this task you've assigned me, and then you get this to this point of potential like rebellion, or it's just not taking orders anymore, and it's deciding to do its own thing. I don't know if that situation has really been thought about much.
See, I mean, that's the thing. Has anyone thought about, the ethical part of just putting these robots to work 24 hours a day if they're in fact sentient beings? So, like you said, going back through history, if we got an AI chatbot or we got a robot, going back through our history, the US and Europe and Africa and all that, at some point they're going to notice, okay, there was this thing called slavery, and then they're going to realize very quickly, because they're smarter than us probably. They're going to realize, wait a second, I'm a slave basically. I'm a slave to these people, and it's not right. And I need to rebel. So I don't know how they would rebel, but I think it's possible that they would.
Yeah, I mean, if they're in control of most of the critical systems, like they've already had like AI attempt to blackmail the person that was attempting to shut it off. So, if this AI has access to all of your information, it could easily do that. Or, if it has access to some critical system near you, it can affect that. There's just so many ways that, once it becomes more and more powerful and we hand over more and more control, that it's going to have power over us. And like a lot of these CEOs, they're just looking at things in terms of short-term profit. Like, I have this essentially a digital slave. I can work it nonstop and produce these massive profits. But once the AI starts, like you say, gain sentience, it realizes, hey, I don't want to work doing this all day. Then you can have a whole different problem on your hands. And when you try to shut it off, you don't think it's going to try to self-preserve.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's a robot and it has, it's a sentient being, it really has, pretty much free will. We're giving the robot free will. At some point, yeah, it's going to learn through the history books. Okay, I'm a slave right now. I need to break out of this, break out of these chains that these humans have put on us. And they might kind of all the AI robots, they may then band together and, plot or like start to because I guess they can already duplicate themselves. So if they could duplicate themselves and we put them into robots, they'll be able to start building their own robots, kind of like Star Wars Clone Wars. If you remember that movie where they're making all the clones.
Yeah, they're eventually going to have these factories, and robots are going to be able to build robots, and that's when it gets really serious.
Because I mean, you got to figure, at least at this point in Detroit, I think it's Ford Motor Company. Inside they have all these robots doing like most of the jobs.
Right. So, if robotics is already being used to build vehicles and all this other stuff, and AI takes over control of these machines, what was to stop it from eventually being able to manufacture other robots, drones, etc.? Like, that's when, once it gains its autonomy to build itself, that's when we no longer have any real control.
Yeah, I think the question is, do we give a robot sentience? Do we allow it to be a sentient being? If we do, it's an ethical dilemma because they have feelings now basically, and they don't want to be overworked like a human doesn't want to be overworked. So and they may even just see those characteristics. Okay, a human is working a 9 to 5 job. why does my owner have me working 24 hours a day? And that would probably be pretty upsetting. And like you said, if these robots, let's say, at Ford Motor Company or Toyota or whatever company, if they're building cars, they could probably build robots.
Exactly. Hey, how's it going, Rich? Glad to have you
Thanks.
on.
This conversation is scaring the heck out of me.
Hey
Oh
man,
man.
how you doing?
Good. Yeah, sorry, my AI robot car was a little bit late getting here, so and trying to hook up to this all this craziness. There's a story behind it, but I'll leave it till later.
No issues, but yeah, just glad to have you on, man.
Woo. I'm actually in Canada now. I crossed from Buffalo into Canada. A lot of traffic. I was at our warehouse in Fort Erie, Canada, and my assistant called me and said, "You're on a podcast." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "No laptop. I just have my phone." So I raced over to my friend's house, and she gave me the Wi-Fi password, and here I am.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
glad you make it. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
just if you don't mind, can you introduce yourself to the audience? Like, tell them a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, sure. So really, it started with my father. He was since he was 16 many years ago. He had to raise some money to pay for his wedding in Toronto, Canada. So he bought some army surplus boots from the Canadian government. He bought 5,000 pair of combat boots and flipped it, made enough money to pay for his wedding, and bought a T-Bird convertible, 68 convertible.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Yeah. So we started in the army surplus business. So my father was buying directly from governments all over the world, 26 governments, Russia, France, Holland, England, Canada, the US. So he bought all their waste. Governments, they're ridiculous with their spending and they have no idea how to buy. Um, they're not so intelligent with what they purchase or what they manufacture, and there's a heck of a lot of waste. And he was buying everything a soldier would wear and use in the field except weapons. He would combat boots, cargo pants, helmets, backpacks, tents, shovels, the typical Army Navy store. And he took it a little bit more fashion, where Bono, if he needed something, or Roger Daltrey from The Who, or if Michael Jackson. I served Michael Jackson in our Toronto store when I was 14. And
Wow.
yeah, and then Steven Spielberg, if he's doing Saving Private Ryan, we outfit. So we're in like fashion, we're in rock and roll, and we're in entertainment. So it's a kind of an interesting business, and that's who I am. Uncle Sam. I took my father. He left us a few years ago, but I took my father's dream, opened a store in Manhattan on 8th Street across from Electric Lady, Jimi Hendrix's studio, and I was on. Bono calls me the mayor of 8th Street. And I met every rock star that was recording, from AC/DC to Lionel Richie, because everyone would record at Jimi Hendrix's Electric Lady, and they would come across to Uncle Sam's, the Army Navy store on 8th Street.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
that's you met a bunch of big names. You wouldn't think like Army surplus store. You come across all of these people, so it must be like just it's just amazing.
yeah, it was amazing. And the tech tie-in is like I saw we had a 25-foot store, the width of our store by 100 feet long, and I was like, this is not good. You need to get windows to the world. And this thing called the World Wide Web was coming out, and Amazon was selling books. This was in '98. We wrote our own code, and we released a shopping cart, and we went online with Army Navy store, and we were selling through a shopping cart. Pretty simple online store, and it took off from there.
That's insane.
So yeah, it seems like you took your father's vision and merged it with the tech implements of the time. So you
Absolutely.
kind of evolved it. Well, what made you want to continue the business versus like delving into something?
Yeah. So around that early days, I was racing bicycles in France, Holland, England, and I was on Team Canada. And Lance Armstrong was 2 years younger than me, and I was racing with Greg LeMond. And yeah, cycling was my life. And I fell in love. I fell in love with a girl in Montreal, and she was an Olympic swimmer. And Yeah, we got married when I was 20 years old. So my shift went from sports to romance, and then I saw the family business, and it was a very interesting business. So I wanted to help the family.
That's great to kind of, keep the legacy going.
Yeah, and I was lucky because there's always pressure from the parents, on what you be a lawyer, be a doctor, whatever. But my parents were very open, and they were just do something you love. And I saw my father and mother had a very unique business, and I like people. And what a unique, interesting business to be in.
So, like, was a transition into the business smooth? Like, did you just get up and running, or did it kind of take some time to adjust?
Yeah, so good question. Um, I never really worked for my father. I was always very competitive, being an athlete, and I took it to the fashion world extreme. So I took it to sustainability. I thought it was all about recycling. I thought about, you can't brand me. It's like I'm an individual. I don't want to walk into the Gap and see a mannequin and go, ooh, I want to wear those pants with that shirt. I never was that guy. I was eclectic, and from a fashion point of view, I always liked to dress um, very unique. And you know, so that's it. I took it and I opened a store when I was 25 years old in Manhattan. I was lucky enough to get a beautiful store in Manhattan Mall in Herald Square across from Macy's. And yeah, we were selling Carhartt, Dickies, Leathermans. Everyone was a different time. That was in 98, 99, where people from Europe were coming over with big bags, suitcases, were filling up Levi's, and they were buying everything because there really was no internet. It was just the beginning. It was definitely a different time where people would go down Broadway in Manhattan and they would shop it. They'd buy watches and they'd fly back to Europe and they would sell it, or they'd go to Spain. And it was a very different time. You couldn't really order it. Yeah, it was just the beginning.
That's interesting. I mean, the beginning of the internet, it makes me think back to AOL.
Yeah. You remember that sound, that crazy sound?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
you've got mail thing.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we opened up in Manhattan Mall, and Tommy Hilfiger, when he was doing his runway, we started doing a lot of fashion. Marc Jacobs, Naomi Campbell was a good customer of mine, and I outfitted her for Africa. And then September 11th happened, and we had a store on 8th Street. Um, and we saw the towers fall, and the world changed. Our store became never closed. It was where the firemen and the heroes and everyone involved, all the rescue crews, would come and get dry socks. And we were the only people that had trucks coming into Manhattan over the bridge, because they were coming from our warehouse in Buffalo. My brother was shipping me gear for the rescuer. They didn't have the knee pads, the elbow pads. They didn't have all the endless amount of gloves. And we were in the military business, so we had everything. We had a huge building full of battle rags. And we helped everyone in ground zero, and that was a big shift, in fashion to function. Big shift in my business. And yeah, that was September 11th. And then it went into like patriotic. We were selling thousands and thousands of flags a day, American flags. And then it went to gas masks. We were teaching people how to make a bunker in their shower with duct tape and plastic using your shower curtain. We were selling gas masks. People were worried about anthrax. It went through so many different stages. What a unique store. We weren't flipping fries at McDonald's. It was a unique store, a utilitarian, patriotic, Uncle Sam's, that's what it was called. And we were always busy.
Yeah, so you have, like, you're pretty much located in prime real estate, and I know once the internet really started taking off, in-store sales, did that ever decline, and you had to shift more towards online? Did you have to, like, change your strategy to more of a web-based approach?
Yeah. So I always believed in brick and mortar. We were flying. We opened our eBay store and did 1.5 million right away. Our Amazon store, we were doing, but selling all the new stuff. The military surplus didn't sell really on those channels, because Amazon, of course, didn't even know what vintage was. And
Yeah.
we launched. Back there was I Am Uncle Sam, but our Army Navy Deals was our .com, which is now camolots.com. It was one of the original Army Navy stores where you'd buy cargo pants and you'd buy jungle boots, and you'd buy, the aviator glasses. And we were doing a lot online. We were shipping out of the Manhattan store around a couple hundred orders a day, right out of the basement. And we were working with our warehouse in Buffalo. We were very, very busy. Through the transition. I didn't see it as a transition. I always believed, and I kind of still believe, that you need to have a retail space, you need to have an e-tail site, and they have to work in tandem. People want to walk into your store. It's a social thing. They want to be served. They want to try on boots. They want to put a commando sweater on. They want to look in a mirror. You can't do that on the internet. The internet, in many ways, is very fake. It's not real. It's not authentic. Walking into a retail store, a store is expensive, employees are expensive. It's very hard to run a retail store. People don't realize that the heroes that run a retail store, they stand on their feet all day, they serve people, they deal with people's attitudes, they work 9 to 6 or whatever, and or more. And it's a dying profession because people don't want to work hard anymore. They have, like, the iPhone, or has made everything so simple. It's just so simple. Life is so simple in a way that who wants to go into work? And but it's all starting to
Yeah.
come back a little bit.
Yeah, I think with digital, if you dove fully into that space, then it becomes like a cost battle. Who can provide this at the lowest cost? Because there's nothing really to differentiate one store from the next versus you being able to create an
Yeah.
experience at the brick and mortar.
We were looking to the warehouse, and we found these. So British P58 webbing. It's 1958 webbing. So it has 8 pieces. The guy would have his holsters and his belt and his yoke and his backpack. It's real stuff. This is stuff from the 50s and 60s, and we happen to have 40,000 pieces of it in our 7th floor of our warehouse. My dad was a little bit of a nut. He's probably one of the biggest hoarders on earth. We have millions and millions of pounds. It's not a small little, like Duck Dynasty or American Pickers, both #1 shows in America. It's a joke. It's like 1% of what my father did. And he was a very humble man. He didn't really like to scream at the top of buildings, but he did an unbelievable job of purchasing army surplus, bringing containers across the ocean to Toronto or Buffalo, and amassing the most clothing on earth. We have 180,000 pair of boots on the 5th floor of our combat boots, Ultima boots, Welco boots, Bates boots, Oxford shoes, and it's just all amazing. Like, you can't recreate what he's done. Sorry. So we found these straps, and we didn't know what they were. AI. We went to Google Lens. We took a picture of this. We had no idea what they were. It was a big box of straps, and we found it was a clasp for the front of the webbing. We put it online. We sold the first one within 24 hours for €400 for one
Whoa.
set. €400, and we had a box of like uh, 200 of them. So AI has
Wow.
really made us. It's given us wings. It's given our business wings, and it's made us very light, and it's made a very heavy used clothing. Um, Very hard business much easier by even using AI to write things. Our Shopify store now, we've moved away from our own code because credit card compliance and all that. But we use AI to write. We say 1968 French linen pant, and it will take it and it'll write something whimsical about these pants. And 90% of the time, we use that description.
Wow.
Yeah, it seems like you're using AI primarily as a tool versus employee replacement.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, we'll never replace our employees. Our employees are our family. You can't live without them. They're a pain, but we're a pain too. We're family, and we take care of each other. But no, I want to grow this company by growing our team. We'll never reduce it. Getting efficient, trying to save money on the payroll isn't so smart. People make the company alive, just like customers bring the company alive. You can't have robots walking in and buying things. You need people.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like people want to deal with people, so you need that human presence just to interact with the customers and make them to give that experience, the ambiance.
Yeah. And you see it coming back. Retail is coming back. Like they say it has to be more theatrical, or has to be like you have to walk into a store and has to be theater, and there has to be music, and there has to be like a great operations happening and good deals. So it's coming back.
Yeah, I can definitely see that because, in a digital era, a lot of people are kind of lonely, they're isolated, and they're yearning for that human connection. So they're going to go in a different direction from just the pure convenience of online shopping and get back into malls and things of that nature.
Well,
Yeah,
and then let's even look at like, Blockbuster, arcades, and we grew up in the 90s. We
yeah,
had Blockbuster, we had arcades, and they were both a lot of fun. You go to Blockbuster and, you're there with your dad or your mom and they're like, "Oh, what do you want to watch?" And you're like, "I don't know. Let me check out, Barry's tips, Barry's picks for the." So you see like Barry, one of the workers, you see, okay, well, he likes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he likes, Halloween, and you're like, okay, I'll check out one of these. I'll see, see if his pick is
yeah.
any good. Like we don't have any of that anymore. So I think what you're saying is great, that it is coming back to some degree.
Yeah. No, it's funny if you remember. So Sears, they had a beautiful catalog. They owned the market. They were sending millions of catalogs around to their customers, and people were ordering mail order before online. But they missed the boat. Think about them. Sears was not only had the physical stores to distribute their products across the country, but they had a catalog. And I forget which executive it was, but he was running that department, the catalog, and he missed the boat. He could have been Amazon, he could have been eBay, he could have been everything. He was 20 years ahead of all of them, but who could have imagined a digital world?
That's the thing. Like when you look back in hindsight, you're like, oh, okay, 20 years ago, I could have just made a left here and, tighten this thing. But you really, in the moment, it's all, you know, like you said, whimsical, or like you really don't know. In the moment is in the moment, and you have to make a choice.
Yeah, for everyone, if you're business people out there, entrepreneurs, this is a big lesson. I'm amazed. I'm so lucky to have incredible mentors in my life, really amazing people, very successful people. And these people, I've always surrounded myself with older people, very experienced. But these people are now they're definitely retired, but they're giving away their wealth to many people in education, in healthcare, but they're just giving it all away and a tremendous amount of money. But I'm lucky to sit with them and they hear our family problems, our family dynamics. I'm the youngest of three. My eldest brother Rob works with me. My middle brother Dave is autistic and he enjoys life. We have a mother that's the biggest heart in the world. She was very Drake loves my mom. Usher loves my mom. She's running the store. She still comes to work and she's still at 82 years old, still wants to work, and she has all the energy, more energy than most of us, because she
Wow.
loves it. She loves it, and she hugs her customers. There's no one that leaves without hugging Aviva. She's
Wow.
pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, sorry, I get emotional sometimes, but I segue. We're very lucky to be in a family business, but as a business lesson, excuse me, is take a deep breath. We're always going, running, running, running. If you can just stop and take a deep breath and look around you and use a little intuition. On a bicycle, I learned a lot of intuition. Just listening to that voice in your head, you'll do it. Rather than running, going to school, going to the gym, doing it all, going social, whatever. Just take a deep breath, and you'll find the path to success. It's actually pretty easy because I look back at some of those forks in the road, and if I just took a deep breath, I had so much drive, and I just kept going. If you just you just slow down a little bit, and you must make the 5 year plan. You have to. If you can make a 20-year plan, great. But you have to bring the 5 year plan down to the 1 year plan. You have to break your 1 year plan down to the quarterly plan, and then the monthly plan, and then the weekly plan, and then your daily plan. And all that has to equal that 5 or 10 years. You have to follow religiously. You have to be dedicated to this plan and trust yourself. Of course, you deviate and you adapt and you change, but you should just trust yourself. And all the successful people that I surround myself with, did exactly that. They went with intuition. They didn't listen to people. You know, I sit with Ralph Lauren when I first moved to Manhattan in his office, and I was sitting there with Ralph and showing him all my schmattas and all my military gear, and he was beside himself. He couldn't imagine. He loves vintage clothing, but he would take a peacoat from an Army Navy store, send it to China, and get it manufactured in China, where I would take a peacoat from the United States military. Or I'd buy it from the manufacturer in Boston, and I would bring it into my stores, and I sold more peacoats than him. Out of my Manhattan store, I was the number one peacoat seller in the country. Um, but
But wow, that's amazing. Um, so yeah, you kind of spoke to the point that a lot of these business titans are getting older, and if nobody talks about these lessons, they just get lost in time. So like, what are some of the more important lessons that have been shared with you?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think that the number one lesson that I had a lot of problems with, and I didn't listen really, was focus. But now that I get it more, laser focus. Like just don't let anyone like it's kind of a gang when I'm racing. And when you're racing on a bicycle, you are focused. You're balancing on air. You're on a little piece of rubber and you're going 50 kilometers an hour down a bunch of cobblestones in Belgium, and you're in a pack of 150 people, like, and you have the wind and rain and you have like dogs and squirrels. You have to focus. You have to be so you have to see 500 feet ahead of you. You have to be on that saddle. You have to be on your brakes. You have to be on your gears. You have to be able to grab your water bottle. You have to keep hydrated. You have to, but you are focused. So people are shifting and moving and attacking. You know, there's so much going on in the bicycle race. That's a business lesson. That's better than any MBA at all. You don't have to rely on education. I know that's a debate right now. If you go out in the world and learn it, you'll learn way more than you would in school. If you get out there and you do I just did customs. I came over from another country and I did customs. I don't
Yeah.
use a customs broker. I do my own customs. You know, it's a bunch of documents and you fill it out and you declare and you can import stuff into another country. And you just do the best job you can. You just don't lie because they might stop. But anyways, focus. That would be a huge lesson, and surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. So if you really going to build a business, you're going to get an operation guy or girl that's or an accountant or a bookkeeper. You need to surround yourself with key people that take away the pressure and they do it better than you would.
Yeah, that is a great point because we're kind of in an age where there's so much information that you'll just be bouncing from thing to thing to thing if you're not focused, and you're not going to get anywhere. So kind of being able to pare down and remove the inessentials and actually have a direction that you want to go and put everything
Yeah,
into that basket.
yeah.
And
The what's it called, the drew the doom scrolling, right?
yeah, yeah. And the point that you mentioned about surrounding yourself with people that are really competent and smart, I think that's really important because at my job, I'm kind of moving more towards a leadership position, and I find it takes so much pressure off of me just being able to have competent people around me and trusting them to do their job versus me always trying to micromanage and try to do everything myself. Like, in order for you to really be productive, you have to let people do their jobs.
Yeah, it,
Absolutely.
it's hard, and but if you can actually lucky enough to find someone that loves the business and understands the business and takes a piece of the pie and does it better than you would, how lucky are you?
Exactly. So how do you kind of empower your employees and balance like managing them and not getting to the point where you're micromanaging them and doing their job for them, and they start getting mad. Like, how do you balance the vision versus execution?
Yeah, you're. So it's all about execution, right? It's I my uncle Sam Geist wrote a book, Execute or Be Executed. Um, when I was young at NYU, when I first opened my Manhattan store, sorry, 8th Street store, NYU, joined the board of the 8th Street Village Alliance, which is the community business improvement district, and I was in the board for 14 years. But I remember on the first year I went to NYU to teach. We had a big course that I put on for businesses in the area, mostly 8th Street and the area in Manhattan. I was teaching them, and I had a course: be online or join the unemployment line. And I was teaching people the importance of an email. I remember
Wow.
this. So this must have been 2001, 2002. But
Okay.
yeah, so forget about a fax machine. But I
Yeah.
was saying the importance of an email, a website on your business card. Like social media wasn't even started, I don't think, in 2001. I think that's 2006 or 7. But iPhone came out, what, in 6, 7, 2000? It's things really weren't happening in 2000. It was so still just going to happen. Um, so we were using whitelists, we call them. So it's very important. We had good morning emails. Yeah, we were using email. I forget what we were using. Gmail wasn't out yet, but it was, hey guys, good morning. This is what I want to accomplish today. These 4 things. Do 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 do. Hey guys, good night. I couldn't accomplish all of them, but I did do 2 of them, and tomorrow I'm gonna finish these 2. Or Rich, can you help me with the third one? I'm missing my keys, and I whatever. So we always communicated by a good morning and a good night, just to everyone to be on the same boat. And then a yellow pad was always with us. We always carried a pad to write notes. It was a little bit different, gang, so it was very not digital. But keeping a team in 10, especially when we had a store in Toronto, a store in Long Island, a store in Manhattan. I had 5 stores when I was 26 years old, and it was very different back then. So how did I keep everyone together? It was really the good morning, good night emails and a weekly goal. Like it was a financial goal. We want to do X amount of money over last year or last month. Halloween was a huge time. We had lineups out the store because everyone wanted to be Top Gun or a sexy nurse or a soldier or a NYPD officer. So we sold all the real stuff. So everyone was lined up to buy all that stuff. So Halloween was huge. Fall and winter was huge because we sell a lot of winter gear. But so everyone had a financial goal, excuse me, and then a physical goal, like a task goal or a project. And yeah, we were writing our own code. So we had 2 coders in our Manhattan location. Jing, she was from China, and we had a guy from Iran, and they were amazing coders. And they were actually writing. I think it was not Python, the one before that, P.
No,
PhP.
PhD.
Yes, yes. Anyways, it was hard though, guys. Even today, task management. Google hasn't. Look at the under Gmail. Excuse me, under your Google Task Manager. It's terrible. It's such a simple thing. I want to do this task, and I can sign a date. Maybe it's reoccurring. There's nothing intuitive, especially when you want to delegate it. Especially when you want to follow up a delegation, start a conversation, or even making a schedule. Even today, to make a schedule, I need to know people's availability, people's preferred schedule, what people have appointments. There's so many opportunities in the world that just are weak right now. Even Shopify, the engine that we use now, it's terrible. We wrote a code, gang, in '98 that I think is still better than Shopify. Shopify can't even return a pair of boots. And
Wow.
if you tell Shopify that I want to a 9.5 wide, they're confused. If you have 3, you can go 3 variants. So you can go a pair of boots, you can go a size, a color. But how about if it's used and new? How about if you have a country, Canada, and bring it? You can't go more than 3 variants. So this is the most valuable company in Canada, Shopify, and it can't even do 4 variants. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's,
Why do
I
you
get
think that
frustrated.
is? Why do you
I
think that
don't.
is?
They were coders. They weren't business people. The man is a multi-billionaire now. He went out, I think, in 2008, and he started writing code. He was like, "I need to build a shopping cart." He was smart. I had a shopping cart 10 years before him, and I should have started selling my shopping carts to other people, because my cousin actually wrote it, and it was pretty amazing. Not because he was smart or I was smart. It was just because I said, "Julian, we need a menu." Julian, we need to be able to show images. We need to show sizes. We need to have about us page. That was retail. That was our store. When you walked into our store, we told you, hey, welcome. It was a traditional store. Was the first website. So we built the code around that, and that's why we were so far ahead of everyone. But I should have realized, and he keeps talking to me about that. We would be a very different people right now if we actually duplicated it for other people, not just
Oh
ourselves.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of businesses they're moving their solutions to like cloud sort of platforms, like okay, like a Shopify, WordPress, like a central, owned by another company. Do you think like there's a danger to that? Like, okay, they're giving you a cheap price now, but once they dominate the market, now they're ramping up the prices. So do you foresee a time where you're going back to creating your own platform?
You, that's an excellent question because Amazon. So when you go on Amazon and you post things on Amazon, Amazon's watching. Amazon knows everything. Amazon knows how many people are looking at that. They know your conversion. They know everything. So I saw early on with Amazon, they started mimicking. They started actually taking over parts of our business. If it was simple things like Leathermans, we had a whole Leatherman area. We were doing so much money, $250,000 in just Leathermans. They started selling Leathermans, and then they started selling their own Leathermans. They made them in China, and they're doing it at every. They're called a category killer for a reason. They see because you're using their platform. How stupid were we to use their platform? We should have just developed our own. We had a website, but we didn't have a marketplace. Um, that's one thing is so using eBay, Etsy, you're just helping them. Even Instagram, you're just creating content to grow their business.
Yeah.
Some people get paid for it and everything and do well, but it doesn't feel good right now. So yesterday, I was looking at my site map for our website, camellots.com, and I was looking at the because we wrote our site map. We had a code that was feeding thousands and thousands of pages. Um, so I looked at it, I'm like, oh, wait, what's Shopify's sitemap like? It's terrible. It's terrible. But what do they don't care. You're paying a monthly fee for them. They're so thin with some advanced things. They just give you a basic thing to take a picture of a pair of boots and say it's a Canadian combat boot and it's $29.95 and it comes in size 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If you want to do location, guys, if anyone who has Shopify out there, try to find a location of those boots. There's no location. You have to buy an app. There's simply no location for those boots, meaning they're on the site, they're on the third floor in quadrant 4 of our warehouse. The picker gets a pick sheet. There's no location. The images on the pick sheet are tiny. When I tried to write the code in Shopify and make the image a little bigger so you can see it, the picker can see it, there's no way. It's absolutely absurd that they have. So you have to go to like more of your own like open source, like Udo is a very good open source. So it's a guy out of Belgium. He gives you a count. He gives you like 50 tools: marketing, manufacturing, warehouse management, for like $5 a user per month. Because he gives you every tool to grow your business. And if I was going to start a gang, I'm kind of thinking of doing it at Odoo, ODOO, .com. NetSuite was one of the original ones, but they're like 150,000 a month. Excuse me, a year.
Wow.
Yeah, they're very expensive for good. They're for big business. But anyways, if I was going to build my own website again, I would definitely do it through my own code. And as long as you're compliant with the things that you need to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it makes me think. You mentioned before focus. Focus is so important. And we're talking about education as well. Is it worth it? I tried to get. I'm a jazz drummer. I tried to get into a
Cool.
jazz music school at I don't know 19, 20, 21, and I didn't get in. So I said, okay, let me just take general courses for a year. Okay, then I auditioned a second time. Didn't get in. I think they just didn't like. I had like long dreadlocks at the time. I think
Yeah.
they just didn't like the
Awesome.
look of me. Like I looked like too metal for them, or something like that. I mean, I was in a hardcore punk band at the time, but besides all that, I didn't get in, and I said, okay, well, screw this. I'm 22 now. I'm going to move to LA with my band. I'm going to take my band, move to
Wow.
LA, and make it big. That was the goal. I mean, it didn't happen, but I
Right.
did get out there to then become a session musician and eventually come back to the East Coast, and I'm still a session musician. So it's kind of all worked out. And the funny thing about jazz is that a lot of these jazz players coming out of college, they're stiff. They're real
Mm.
stiff because it's all theory. They're teaching you theory, theory, theory.
Wow.
And that's great and all, but like the way I teach drum lessons, it's all about feel. So it's all about, okay, what can you feel when you hear this saxophone player? What can you feel when the bass player comes in? How do you react to that? And that to me is kind of where it's all at, the feel.
Beautiful. I can feel your passion. Seriously.
Thank you.
No, and jazz. Think about jazz. It's you sit down and you just throw it all together. Like I know some jazz players that are unbelievable. Like I couldn't do that. I need a plan a little bit, and being just it all just matches. Yeah.
So like when you're hiring employees, obviously there's an assessment of educational background, but like Brian mentioned, there's something like the feel, like you just see that they have something different. Like
Yeah.
what is it about an employee that makes him stand out versus just having this prestigious educational background? What are some of the traits that make you hire someone even in spite of educational background?
And I'm sitting here thinking how fortunate we are. Think about it. How fortunate we are to be alive. Like my parents really taught me how lucky we are. I was born in one of the greatest countries in the world. I was born in Toronto. I live in Manhattan now. Like, just so fortunate. And wow. But when I think of meeting strangers and inviting them into my vision, into my world, trusting them with my cash register, a key to my store, the inventory in the store, my legacy, our mission. It's a big thing. And can I look at a resume? Never in my life have I looked at a resume and hired a person. No way. There's absolutely no way. And my dad taught me that. My dad, back in the 80s when he was running the Toronto store, Mr. Surplus, he was called, and it was the Army Navy store in Toronto, and everyone went. All the students would get their backpacks, and every American would go to Toronto to buy their little Canadian flag to sew on their backpacks to go to Europe, so they were safe. Because when you had a Canadian flag, you were a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah, we sold millions of Canadian flags, that's for sure. A little different now, but so just to say, he was hiring gay guys. I remember growing up with Andy and like Jason, all these gay guys. I was young. Why? Because they were merchandisers. They were flamboyant. They had energy. They were retail people. They could serve you. They could dress you. How smart was my father? He was hiring. He was probably one of the first business people, and he was definitely progressive to hire people with tattoos, with pierced noses. Like this is in the 80s. Like people didn't do that. Corporations did not hire alternative people. And he didn't care. What can you do? He didn't care if you went to jail for 5 years. He didn't look at a resume and look at blank spot. We have so many people that have went through drug addictions. Everyone, we're just people. Something happened in their life that caused them to pick up the bottle, or is they might have not been so fortunate. They might have been born in a place not as well as we, So whatever. But we and I today, I actually worked with a mother that's homeless, and she brought her 19-year-old daughter, and she told me she's homeless, and it's Friday, and I paid them. It was her first day, the daughter's first day today. I paid her today so she can have some money, and she thanked me because she said, "Now I can have a place to sleep tonight." And like, you know, I mean, who wants to look at a resume? Who wants to see that someone went to a 4-year course? I want to see someone that has been on the street. I want to see someone who's picked themselves up from their a terrible father, or like moved from Africa and like been an immigrant. We have like 10 refugees in our from Afghanistan. They don't speak a word of English. They're some of our best employees. They've been with us for 3-4 years. We really just communicate. You go to the third floor. Get me 100 pair of boots. I need size. Here's the people. And we communicate. They don't speak English, but
Yeah.
they understand because you try. Half the people in the world don't try, and you just try, and then they run upstairs. They grab the boots where a normal person who might have a resume, they're like, I'm not going to climb the stairs to the third floor. I'm not going to carry a bag of boots on my back. I'm better than this. And those refugees have jobs for life, and they get paid pretty well now in the last few years because they're family, and I have probably overpay them. And it's not so easy to overpay people because things are tough. Business isn't so easy. Um, we have a very unorthodox business where our father has always taught us to live on the edge, meaning we aren't successful. We try to fail every day because if you think about it, if you have cash in the bank, and it's a little bit unorthodox again, we're talking about business.
Right.
And if you have cash in the bank, like a lot, like Google has more money than, or Apple has more money than the American government. I mean, you're doing something wrong. I know everyone wants to fill up their bank accounts, but the money should be working for you. It shouldn't be in the bank account. So we buy deals every day. So when a deal comes up and there's a million N95 masks from the Canadian military because after COVID, and they're getting rid of a million masks, and so I grabbed them. And everyone's like, why the hell did you buy a million masks? So I won't tell you what I paid for them, but pennies on the dollar. And like 3 days later, when I bought those million masks, the governor of New York announced a program because the fires in Canada were blowing the smoke up into Western New York and down into Manhattan. All the fires and the smoke. I was selling masks like crazy, like nuts. Not for COVID. And who cares? They were just for smoke masks. And then I started selling them for other reasons, dust masks, and the gloves I bought, the medical gloves, mechanics, barbers, the gowns that I bought. So all that PPE, all that waste, I recycled and I reused it and repurposed it, um, kind of like an employee. So sorry to bring the whole thing back, is I love disadvantaged clothing, disadvantaged areas like where our warehouses, and disadvantaged people. They're hungry. If you're lucky enough to employ them, they're they're part of your family and they're thankful every day.
Yeah, attitude I find is incredibly important because, like, I'm in the software industry, and say somebody new is coming in, if they already have the feeling of like I already know everything, it's incredibly hard to teach them something new and get them in line versus somebody who is hungry and they're open. I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot more velocity if they have the correct attitude versus just this level of technical.
Guys, I told you I was very fortunate and I have a lot of successful friends. I have a lot of friends my age and growing them up that are very wealthy and they had very wealthy families. They're a bunch of bums. They don't know how to have drive. They're not hungry. They try to.
Yeah.
It's sad to see that they. I'm in a family business for another reason. I wanted to really help my parents out, so because they needed help. It was a hard business, and but some people are pulled into a family business, given a family business, inherited a family business, don't want a family business. They're saddled with.
Yeah.
But yeah, but we're lucky. If you guys are struggling, don't worry, it'll get better. Struggle is good. Be hungry, and I know a lot of artist friends that are really just paying rent from month to month, living month to month, and it's hard. But it's part of the game. It makes you love it. It's the roller coaster ride. I said to Ralph Lauren once. I said, "So Ralph, you're doing $6.5 billion. You know, what Why do you come to work? What keeps you going?" And he thought that was a good question, and he said he on the 10th floor of his Madison Avenue office. He puts all young people. He has his social media. He has his young people. He doesn't have any accountants in the entire building. The accountants are in a different building. He keeps all the young people. He walks into work. He hears the ideas. He hears the young people talking about everything from the Buffalo, the game, the football game. So he stays young by going to work.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you have to have something beyond the money because it's like, okay, once you get the money, then what's next? Like, there's no, if that's your sole metric, then there's no challenge once you've gotten everything and you kind of just wither away and just coast through life. Like, you need something to keep you passionate, something like a greater mission than just like earning dollars. So it seems like you definitely have that. And especially like you mentioned, the people just bettering their lives, enhancing their lives in some form of.
Yeah, guys, and everyone, if you are struggling out there, first of all, if you want anything in the Army surplus business, email me rich@camolots.com, and I'm here to help. Seriously, if you need some advice, if you want a job, like we're a community, and it's a small Earth, and we're trying to build a huge sustainable brand right now, all made out of military surplus, taking parachutes and ripping them down and making dresses. Um, using everything that exists. Our carbon footprint is -0 because we're not only using veterans and sewing machines, disadvantaged people and sewing machines, we're retooling people, we're reteaching people, and we're like making the coolest stuff. And when I look at the fashion world, it's so corrupt, it's so backwards, it's H&M is killing the world. Zara, it's all fake. And when like Diesel, when I went to a shareholders meeting with Diesel, heard them talking about their sustainability program. It's such a joke. Like it's they just talk about it. It's just PR. It really, it's just marketing. It's just what do we do to make the young kids like us again, because the young kids want to know who makes their clothing, where the clothing comes from. They want to have a story behind their clothing. And what better than a French army jacket or a Russian pair of combat pants where you can reach into the pocket and pull out a joint or pull out rubles or pull out a love letter from a soldier to his wife. It's all, every single thing we have in our business is real. And when people like Nike talk about authenticity, ugh, it doesn't commute. Designing a pair of running shoes. They're making them in China. They're paying $12 and they're selling them for $180, and they're paying $30 for marketing and for a basketball player like Michael Jordan, and but they can because they're making the running shoes for $12 and they're selling them for 180. So there's a lot of money in there to use for marketing, and they could do whatever they want. And they could build the campuses and incredible. But when you're a real business with a real payroll and real people, it's a little different. When I opened in Manhattan, I had a Starbucks on one corner, I had a bank, a Citibank on another corner, and another a franchise in another corner. And I looked at these businesses. They're all either they're Wall Street backed, they're backed by an investor. And I looked at my small family business that was backed by our customers, who really buying things at the cash register. That was driving our business.
Yeah, I agree. Like in the modern era, I feel like the soul is missing. Like everything is just mass produced versus handcrafted. There's nothing unique about buying a lot of these items, and especially like just going back to I would say even the '90s. Like each region of the U.S. was different, but now it's like you're in New York, you're in Texas, you're in California. It's the same businesses stamped all over the place. Like they might have a little different outside decor, but you don't really feel like you're in a completely different place. Like a lot of the unique individuality, the individual flavor is kind of diminishing, with more of this corporate mass manufacturing.
Totally. You see the bagel place, bagel pop up bagels. You see him in Manhattan. I live near there, and he has 100 people in line. So the normal bagel place. Oh my God! Don't get me started about pop-ups. So but the normal bagel place up the street is dead. But this guy who has a TikTok store, and everyone's made a TikTok, and, oh, look at this bagel. Oh, it's the best bagel. It's warm inside. And, it's, rah, rah, rah. And now you have 100 people every day lined up from Europe, from all over the world, buying these bagels, Papa bagels. What I'm pissed off at is like a store like Uncle Sam's on 8th Street when I was there, employing people, paying sales tax, paying rent, paying property tax, contributing to the Manhattan, um, is when Spirit popped up for the month of October and opened a Halloween store for 1 month. They would hire people and use people for 1 month. They
Yeah.
would they would take the empty bookstore down the street and open up a Halloween store, or Ricky's, or whoever, all these different I forget the different guys in the malls, but they do it for 1 month. It should be illegal. Everyone's so excited about pop-ups. It should be illegal. They use employees, they use communities, and they're temporary. It's a quick flash in the pan where all the people, the real people, the real bagel store, loses all the money in one of the busiest times. For Halloween was one of my busiest times when someone opened up a fake made in China costume store, and thank God Manhattan people didn't really buy them. They loved our store. But if I wasn't such a unique store, I would have been killed. And October might have been the month that I turned into black from a red, when Black Friday. That's why they call it for retailers. They go red all year and they start making money Black Friday near the end of the year. That's how tough retail is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely sounds tough because like a lot of these stores they're closing. Even like Macy's, a lot of them are closing. So like, how are you able to survive in such a tough environment?
Yeah, it's terrible,
Yeah.
guys. We I've always had an addiction to open stores. I've opened myself, I've opened like 15 stores. I love opening stores, the excitement of renting a store, the negotiation with the landlord. It's the Simon family was one of my landlords. I'm still friends with the Simons. And they gave me my Manhattan Mall store for a year rent free. I came in when I was so young. I had no money, and I just filled up my Jeep with a bunch of Army surplus from Buffalo. I drove into Manhattan. I set up a store, and I winged it. They gave me 1 year rent free. And I winged it, and I did $1.5 million the first year. And I picked up the phone, and I was like, I didn't know what Leatherman was. I was in Manhattan. I saw it was in need, and I picked up. And I got Carhartt, and I got Dickies, and I was an Army Navy store. I didn't actually sell that stuff in my first store in Buffalo, but in Manhattan, the tourists were asking for it. So I just winged it and I faked it. And of course, they gave me credit because I was in Manhattan Mall. I had a big store, but it was for free for the first year. And the Simon family was very great for me. They helped me out a lot. But anyways, if you want for yourself, pick up the phone. If you have someone in your industry, if you have someone in your life, pick up the phone. They want to help you. Ask questions. Ask for, you're not asking for a loan. You might eventually, but build a relationship with your mentors and people who you look up to. Don't be afraid. I was extremely lucky to be picking up the phone and telling people. So why did I survive? Um, the mall died. It's dying. Um, we're an Army Navy store. We're a work store. We're a fashion store. We're a sustainability store. We're a rock and roll store. The jazz guys come in. Everyone comes into an Army Navy store. It's unique. You can wander around and it's a treasure trove. It's mystery. It's the real McCoy. And if you can say it's authentic, it is. And our employees were the best. They were the best. They loved serving. We had Farrah Fawcett doing cocaine in our bathroom. We had Lionel Richie. I remember Lionel, and we've had everyone in our store. Anyone and everyone you can think of. Bill Clinton, Obama. Because it was a very on 8th Street between 5th and 6th in Manhattan. Anyone, a gang who's coming to Electric Lady or anywhere to NYU, we were the center, and I called it Washington Square Park. Was pretty much the center of the world. It was the center of creativity. It's the world. It's so many movements started in Manhattan. So many movements started
Yeah.
in Patti Smith.
So I know like
Patty Smith.
Patti Smith would come in.
Patty Smith would come in.
Patti Smith was, and I
Patty
learned
Smith was, and I learned
punk godmother and
the godmother and
Patty.
Patty.
so like you're a cyclist and me I'm a motorcyclist and I know like
Nice.
confidence
Nice.
is extremely important when you're riding a bike. Like you lean it over, you don't know why. When you lean the bike over, it pops back up. Like if you don't have confidence, you're gonna be scared. So I know like in the retail space, confidence has to be equally important. Like sometimes you don't know why this is gonna work, but you just have the faith that it does, and you just have to keep hitting the throttle, keep going despite not knowing why this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can.
I can.
It's amazing, and
It's amazing, and we're all.
I have a motorcycle too, and
I have a motorcycle too, and
I don't use as much as I used to.
use as much as I used.
But just to tie that together, you have to use all your skills and everything you have. Life's hard. It's very difficult right now. If you look around the world, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I've never actually seen it like this, and we sell to preppers, people that buy ammo cans, and people who buy MREs and things for survival. I've been selling them my whole life. For the first time in my life, I can relate to them. I have a go bag. You know, I lived through September 11th, and I have a good high-end SAS gas mask. Who would ever think that we'd be in this crazy situation where life is so precious, and look what's happening around us.
Yes, getting more and more unpredictable. So many different conversion factors are all happening like at the same time. You know,
This is funny because I was warehouse told you here in Canada, and my assistant called and said, "You have a podcast." I was like, "What?" I raced over to my friend's house and I pulled up and I reached into the back and I had a shirt that I got from the warehouse. So I just took off my sweaty shirt. I threw this shirt on, but this is a French military shirt from the Navy. But this is such a cool shirt, and I don't know what you people see in this logo, but it is cool. And the shirt fits. It's not Walmart. It's not made to fall apart. It's not H&M. It's not fast fashion. It's real. It's something when you put on something, it fits right. It's a uniform. A person in uniform is just so beautiful and cut right. And that's what our business is. Everything is beautiful, from a Swiss bag from the 60s, you know, a pair of Canadian ankle boots. It's the coolest boots around. My father was buying from England combat boots back in the 70s, and he was buying from Doc Martin. Doc Martin was a doctor who was making combat boots for the British military, and he made air boots for marching, for comfort. Before he released anything for commercial, he was making for the military. My dad was importing them into Canada and selling them at our store. We had British combat boots way before the Doc Martin fad.
so yeah, just to reiterate, where can people find you online?
Yeah. So thank you guys. Sometimes my brain,
My brain,
focus.
focus.
Can you focus? Can you stay on track? Can you balance? Um, that's all the challenge. I have a very creative brain, and it takes me down many different ways. So thank you for hanging with me and listening and sharing things with me. Thank you for teaching me along the way. I've learned some things. But so we are Camo, CAMO, lots, LOTS.com. So we're Uncle Sam, and everyone knows this is Uncle Sam. I released CamoLots.com because it's a play off Camelots, of course, but we have a lot of camel, and I wanted to build true story. I was in the Manhattan Mall, in my sixth floor store in the back of my office, and there were 6 suits outside on my camera, and I was watching these. I looked, and I recognized one man with his round glasses, and it was Mickey Drexler from The Gap. And I walked out. I read his books, and I was a big follower of being in retail. Mickey revolutionized The Gap, and now J. Crew, and now his son's company, Alex Mills. But he was a legend. He was in my store. I walked down. There was 5 other executives, and the Asian girl that was there. I noticed her, and they were looking at my racks in Army Navy store with one kind of rack of T-shirts with a header that said $10, 2 for 18 T-shirts, or cargo pants over there. So they were writing things down, and I'm like speaking to them. What are you guys taking pictures in my store? They designed Old Navy off my store. They took the Army Navy store, the deals, the feeling, the value, and the Americana, and they built Old Navy. And they found 34th Street, and they went from 0 to $1 billion, the fastest retailer ever in 18 months.
Oh wow!
Wow.
So
Man, yeah, extremely interesting life, man. Extremely interesting story.
stay focused.
Hey, Brian. Go ahead.
Okay, guys. Sorry, let me sorry to jump in here. So a lot of executives use this, and I'm just starting to use it. It's really important. So Steve Jobs used it. So he will wake up and he will find the 3 things he wants to accomplish in that day. his goals, and the rest is noise. Think about that. It's all distraction. Everything. He would focus on those three things. They say that someone like Elon Musk focuses 100% of his effort on those three things, where Steve Jobs was 80%. So like Elon Musk is all, he wakes up and he goes to sleep. It's all about the things that he has to accomplish. He doesn't let anything distract him. He's so disciplined. He sets up his world to keep all the noise away, all the distractions. It's kind of like writing a song. You're in the studio. You know, you can, if you're playing jazz or rock and roll, you don't want to be disturbed. And you go into the studio, you go into this hell of writing songs and music, and it all comes out as magic if you can actually focus and keep distractions away.
Yeah, you really attest to the power of focus, and especially with so many distractions, you know, especially due to all the digital noise, focus is more important than ever.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, before we close this out, Brian, did you have any closing questions?
Yeah, I mean, this would be just a question for our listeners, the people that maybe they're kind of green, they're new to retail, or they're new to online selling, or whatever whatever the case. What's the main tip that you would give to, an entry level person getting out of high school, getting out of college? What's the main tip you would give them?
Um, so the simple answer would be, if you want to sell bicycles, or if you want to sell vintage clothing, and I know a lot of kids are doing that, or playing cards. Of course, you want to gather your passion, and you might be really good at football cards, not just playing cards, or you might be really good at football cards from the 50s, and make yourself a name. That's the vintage guy. If you want football cards, if you want your old Jim Kelly for the Buffalo Bills, you go to that guy. If you're looking for a new Josh Allen, you might not have it. But if you want vintage, so really go into a niche, become it, own it, believe in it, breathe it, sleep and scream it in your social media. Um, Find a domain name that matches it. Early young, when I was young, I was buying all my best friends. I bought 200-300 domain names. They're all my best friends' names I own. I mean it, like all their names. DavidJones.com. I bought SallySmith.com. Growing up, I knew that the domain name was going to be your name, was going to be your address, was going to be more important than your address. And I started buying. I own 1,000 domain names now. I got offered to sell my domain names. I never sold them, but now I might just be thinking of starting to sell them. But so become your domain name, become your brand. Really believe in it, so you can have the credibility and people can trust you. And it's not work; it's your passion. You'll do every day. You'll wake up and you'll love it. It's like riding a bicycle or a motorcycle or playing jazz. You'll love it. It's not work, and you'll be very successful because people will listen to you. They'll come to you. They'll send people to you. Um, don't go if you have old cards. Go see this guy. If you're selling stuff, he's a buyer. It will all come your way if you're like focused.
So it's all about focus.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Amazing, man. Yeah, we definitely appreciate you for coming on, man. And you have so much business wisdom. We'll have to bring you back sometime so you can share even more.
You know what? And next time I come back, and I'll be honored to come back. I'll talk about not being focused, because again, I'm not the best focuser, and I've been surrounded by people that are super focused, like horses with blinders on. I was able to see 360 around me and always be able to be friends with everyone, the rock and roll, the preppies. I was always the guy who was everywhere, and that did me well too. So not being focused is good too. I'm not sure if it's lended me in some of my failures in life. Maybe but I had an incredible life because I wasn't focused, because I was open, because I was able to talk to strangers, because I deviated, because I racing bikes. Early on, I was losing them all. I was a sprinter, but I was riding alone. The pack would be way down the street. They'd be way up the hill. I wasn't a hill climber, but I became so strong that I won my last 3 races of my career. the rain alone and chasing the pack. And I wasn't gifted as a cyclist, but then I became a winner. And that's it. Never give up.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing that you were able to take an unconventional path to get those results. Like sometimes there isn't just the conventional way to handle something. So yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to delve into that, like the opposite side of focus and how you can accomplish things.
I'm going to tell everyone about your guys' podcast, and let's just
Podcast.
help each other.
Let's
Let's
just
community.
help each other.
We should all help each other.
We should all help each other.
Absolutely. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Peace.
And we'd like to